Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nemeka Onyeka Obiri. Let me quickly run you through in the next 5 minutes what you need to know about reserves of a country and foreign exchange float management. And you've heard and you saw the report of Bloomberg that in a period of less than 2 months, Nigeria has blown away in less than 1 month over $2.1 billion of our foreign reserve in defending the naira. See, there's nothing wrong in defending the naira. Every country manages the exchange rate of their country to that of foreign currencies, convertible currencies, the major currencies. And they do it to be able to control trades and all the rest of them. China deliberately devalues their yuan to be able to make their export more competitive for a very productive economy. As much as possible, you lower the value of your currency to be able to make your export very, very, very attractive. The Vietnamese are also a productive economy. The Vietnamese dong is about 24,000 dong to, yes, they're about to $1, but they are very productive. Annually, they export over $356 billion worth of goods and services, and they deliberately devalue their currency to make their exports very competitive, especially when compared to that of China into the US and other Western countries. Nothing is wrong in managing float, but we need to ask yourself, how do you manage float and from where do you manage float? When we talk about foreign exchange reserve has to do with everything that has to do with foreign deposits, treasury bills, bonds, inflows that come into an economy, inflows in terms of foreign receivables, and for example, now our local currency here is naira. Any dollar coming into Nigeria, CBN warehouses a dollar and then releases naira equivalent to support activities here. Of course, how do we generate dollar? When we export goods, when we export services, when we receive diaspora remittances, and when we have foreign direct investment and foreign portfolio investment. How do we spend the dollars? When we import goods and services, and then social other things like education and health. Now, it was very easy for us to defend. If you look at our history since 1999, when Obasanjo became president, our foreign reserve was about $5 billion. In Cuba, to a tune of about $3.9 billion was in Cuba. Nigeria was heavily indebted, $32 billion, and we couldn't even service it. Nigeria was a pariah nation. What did Obasanjo do? Very simple. Became president, moved around the world, begging the world to forgive us, to remove the pariah status of Nigeria, recruited some of the best hands, Okonji Wala, Charles Soludo, into his team, Taminu Yakubu and all the rest of them, Nasiru El-Rufai, what bears the question? Formed a very strong team, and within a space of 8 years, Obasanjo negotiated and paid off our foreign debt. $18 billion was paid as full and final settlement for that $32 billion. They forgave us about $12 billion. When Obasanjo became president, crude oil was in at $17.30. Our output was about 1.7 million barrels. Obasanjo understood clearly that to be able to shore up our reserve, to be able to build up enough base to protect the economy, he needed to ramp up oil output. Oil output was ramped up to about 2 million barrels a day. If you looked at Obasanjo's first term, oil prices never went above $23.50. But Obasanjo was able to manage no leakages. Obasanjo, of course, you know him, is a very strong man. You cannot, most of those that stole under his government got dealt with. Tafa Balogun was disgraced and jailed. A lot of people. Obasanjo was a strong man. He was the one that started the EFCC with Nuhu Ribadu. And Nuhu was very effective. Give it to Nuhu Ribadu. Nuhu Ribadu till tomorrow remains the most effective EFCC chairman Nigeria has ever had. In fact, the fear of Nuhu Ribadu was the beginning of wisdom. Of course, you saw he injected $15 million. Nuhu was very effective as EFCC chairman, and he helped Obasanjo to protect leakages in Nigeria. Obasanjo, by the time he left power in 2007, left foreign reserve of $47 billion, paid off external debt. We never, in fact, our external debt was less than $500 million debt, because Obasanjo cleared everything. So Yar'Adua and Jonathan inherited an economy that had near to zero external debt profile. Obasanjo gave them a clean slate with a foreign reserve of $40. And how was he able to build it? He shut down the leakages in the system. Even when he was leaving, he understood clearly that allowing the refineries and the oil of our Nigeria to remain in public sector will never allow it to work. He deliberately privatized it to the Blue Star Consortium. Of course, that was only one mistake Yar'Adua made. He reversed that sales. If that sales had been upheld, Nigeria wouldn't have been where we are today. Anyway, let me not digress. Obasanjo was able to build. Now, Yar'Adua and Jonathan inherited foreign reserve of $7 billion. Of course, output, they even ramped up output after Yar'Adua died. Jonathan took over. In 2010, Jonathan ramped up output to about 2.4 million barrels. 2011 and 2012, we had output at 2.4 million, 2.6 million barrels, crude oil and condensate. We were receiving inflows of about $90 billion in 2011, $98 billion in 2012, $75 billion in 2013 from crude oil receivables. And of course, they were able to defend the Naira. If you look at Naira was $88 Naira to $1 when Obasanjo became president. When he left, it was $124. Naira lost only about 38 Naira to $1. But Obasanjo was able to manage it very, very well. Same thing with Jonathan. We are paying huge subsidies on petroleum because petroleum price then was about 87 Naira. So we are paying huge price, but we were able to defend. We are spending billions of dollars. But what were we defending? We were defending with proceeds of crude oil. We weren't borrowing to defend. And of course, that Jonathan's government was the most reckless. We ended over $464 billion, in crude oil sales. We had, of course, he inherited zero debts practically from Obasanjo. But of course, by the time he left external debt of $10 billion, which was not too bad. Total debt profile was 12 trillion naira. So when Buhari became president, he had a reserve of $29 billion, $20 billion unencumbered. He had oil he was trading. Don't let anybody deceive you. He created output of 2.4 million barrels a day. But Buhari, just like anything Buhari, when he came to 1983, we saw what he did. Very reckless, very incompetent. He blew away everything, got our crude oil resources stolen like sweet. From the height of 2.4 million barrels a day, it came down to less than 1 million barrels. By the time Buhari left office, Buhari had created massive holes for Nigeria, even sold crude oil in advance. In fact, he left Bese to Tinubu, Bese unpaid bills at the CBN that Yemi Cardoso was able to pay $5 billion. The other 2.4 billion that is yet to be resolved. So he left for Tinubu 77 trillion naira national debt, $43 billion external debt position, and then weigh and means of 23 trillion naira. Now I want us to understand why we are trading on a very dangerous landscape. Today, our output has remained at less than OPEC quota of 1.78 million barrels. Now, it was easy for Obasanjo, it was easy to Jonathan to defend. They weren't defending with borrowed funds, they were defending with massive crude oil sales. And if you look at our import figures in those days, from 2010, we only imported $64 billion worth of things. 2011, $89 billion. 2012, $60 billion. 2013, $67 billion. 2014, $71 billion. 2015, $52 billion. We were importing even more than we were importing now. But these guys were able to defend the Naira then because they had a huge dollar inflow. Crude oil resources was being sold. And Nigeria was earning crude oil revenue. But today, and they didn't have huge external debt to pay. There was no huge external debt because Obasanjo cleared the stable. But today, look at what Tinubu is grappling with. And that is what is scaring most of us who understand dynamics and fundamentals of economic management. Tinubu inherited $43 billion external debt obligation. That will be paid. Tinubu inherited over 27 trillion naira domestic debt, plus 23 trillion naira ways and means, and 7 trillion naira interest on it. This $43 billion external debt will be paid. There's going to be a service element to it. There's going to be repayment to it. And now, crude oil resources that will have helped us to cushion and defend the Naira, just like the Jonathan era. Because if you look at between Obasanjo and Jonathan, Naira lost only 111 Naira because they had huge FX coming in from crude oil sales, because output was 2.4 million barrels. Today, output is 1.4 million barrels a day. Tinubu inherited $43 billion external debt that will be serviced and repaid. Now, what are we using to defend this thing? The crude oil trickles that are coming in will not be enough to defend this. Already, there was a Reuters report that NNPC, you saw what El Rufai said, they wasted 8 trillion naira in subsidy in 8 months. Tinubu should be asking questions. And there's even a rumor that there's even this allegation that they are owing over $3 billion unpaid obligations to those that supplied us with PMS. Now the question is, what are we using to defend the naira? Under Obasanjo, under Jonathan, we had huge oil resources that we used. Today, we don't have that leisure. We are borrowing monies to defend the naira. Over the last 3 months, we have taken almost about $4 billion by way of foreign portfolio investment at a very expensive rate of 21%. That simply means by this time next year, we will have an obligation of $4.7 billion to pay for the first quarter. And who knows how much we are going to borrow the second quarter and third quarter and fourth quarter. If we do not cut down on the insecurity, Obasanjo did not have the kind of insecurity that Tinubu has now. Even Jonathan. Now, we are battling insecurity across every sector. So sometimes when we talk like this, we are not criticizing out of malice. We are trying to help this government to be able to take the right step to protect Nigerians and itself. And what do? Our major foreign exchange earner is the crude oil resources. In fact, under Jonathan, foreign direct diaspora remittances average $25 billion. Today, it came down. Foreign direct investments were coming in tens of billions. Today is about, in 2023, it was about $3 billion. Buhari wrecked this country. Totally wrecked it. And Yemi Cardoso is doing everything possible within the limited instruments available to him to defend the naira, which is very, very good because Nigerians are suffering. People are bleeding. So what Yemi is trying to do to see how he can bring this thing low, even to the level he met it. But after he had borrowed to do it, and the debt will be repaid next year, where are we going to get the dollar to repay this thing? If the crude oil output is not ramped up to 2.5 million barrels, if we do not slay the insecurity that is in Nigeria, to allow our farmers to go back to work, to allow Nigerians to go into productive activities, and that is what Mr. President should be focusing on. And it is very shocking, and I'm surprised, and I want to. Mr. President inherited a very hemorrhaging economy, a comatose economy. When you are a manager, you enter into a new team. You saw a team that spent 16 trillion at $4 billion. In 8 years, they could not feed the refineries in subsidies. You saw a team that presided over loot of crude oil on an annual basis, $22 billion for 5 whole years. What you should have done if you want to protect yourself as the leader, what a pharaoh will have done will have been to clear out the stable from the NNPC to the NNDPRA to every person that was appointed by Buhari, clear them out, because these guys could not protect the interest of Nigeria. And then bring in your men. Tinubu worked in mobile. Tinubu is an oil and gas person. He has contacts. He knows people. He can easily get people to help him. You cannot keep a team that fumbled, a team that created the base we are carrying now. Mr. President, it's for your own good and the good of Nigeria. Some of us are patriots. When we say these things, to God knows our heart, it's not out of malice. It's to Nigeria is a country that takes the right boxes to become one of the top biggest 10 economies in the whole world. You can do it. When you said you want to build a $1 trillion economy, it is possible, Mr. President. But you don't win the Champions League with incompetent players that have played 5 years without winning Champions League. You can't use them. They can't do anything for you. You get rid of them and get good hands to help you. Yemi Cardoso is one of the shining stars. Yemi Cardoso, Bosun Tijani, and Olabu Ojo, the interior affairs minister. These are the very few good hands you have. 80% of your cabinet members are doing nothing on the physical side. NNPC by now, the refineries will have been working. Don't let anybody deceive you. Mr. President, you can get local investors in Nigeria that can buy up 60% of Nigeria's shares in NNPC. You open up the place, list on the floor, make it as transparent as the Nigerian liquefied natural gas. That will give you $42 billion inside the account to defend the naira and to do infrastructure. And now it should be a twin issue of offer for sales and then IPO, just like Aramco. If you do offer for sales and divest 60% and IPO of $20 billion, Mr. President, Nigerians will subscribe it. Get a JP Morgan Chase or Goldman Sachs to help you to do this. NNPC will be listed like Petrobras. Petrobras is only owned 28.5% by the Brazilian federal government. Their total assets is about $174 billion. Total revenue last year was about $121 billion. Profit at 7 billion. They are 10 times more profitable than NNPC, Mr. President. Save your government, help your government. You can do it. Renewed hope should start with Mr. President. Don't look at anybody. We know that people helped you to become president. People supported you. But when Nigeria is at a point of existential danger, do the right thing, put the right plug, and step on toes, Mr. President. You can do it. Get rid of anybody who was part of the Buhari's oil and gas industry. Clear them out and get people to help you. We need to help you make also from the physical side. On security, diversify the security architecture of Nigeria. We have shared with you how you can do it. Recruit 100 youths from every community. Let the communities, let the electorate from every ward in Nigeria, let them donate their sons, Mr. President. Put them in the army, train them, equip them with, get Innocent and Nord to provide, to produce for us armored personnel carriers, 4 in every local government area, armored truck mounted machine guns. Give them AK-47. Let them go back to their communities, and they are part of the army. They will be part of Nigeria, but they will be Nigerian Army Rangers. Then use them to protect clusters of 1,000 hectares of agro upgrades in every of the world. That will give us about 10 million hectares of new upstream. Clear them out. Let them use them to clear out the bandits. Mr. President, when you provide 24/7 security in Nigeria and you fix the oil and gas sector, I tell you, you are halfway into getting the $1 trillion economy that you've envisaged. And the EFCC is doing a good job. They should go beyond chasing those who are using $20. Olukoyede can do it. Unshackle him. Go after the former governors. Recover our monies, Mr. President. When you do these things, second term becomes easy for you. God bless you.